Julie, Julie. Is this
Good
Julie? I'm
morning.
assuming.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oops, I can't hear. I put my headphones. Check, check.
Good
Is
morning.
Julie?
Hi.
Yes. Oh, it just shows us iPhone. So I
Does it
wasn't sure,
still?
but now I know that when it shows iPhone, I know that's Julie. Happy Monday. Just gonna give another
Happy Monday to
minute
you too.
and see if we have more people joining us this morning. Well, my phone is actually, I'm 2 minutes behind. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I
Yeah.
am healthy,
Yes.
wealthy,
Yes.
wise, and
Woohoo.
prosperous. So
For sure.
tell the challenge to come. I'm ready for them.
Oh,
I mean, this
yes.
is a crazy statement when they say, "Oh, really? Here are the challenges." Like, oh, that hurts. Oh my goodness.
No,
So
you should say opportunity in disguise.
yes, opportunity in disguise. Absolutely. No, I am excited. I'm very excited. It's a great morning. Shine is in the house. I had a guest, but he hasn't confirmed. But yet, I am again on that crazy journey of reading books like if they're going, as Janet said, Shine, good morning. So Janet said, oh my goodness, they're reading books one after the other as if they're going out of style. It's like, well, I say one thing. People
Yeah.
can't take away from me what I'm learning. People can take away from me what I am absorbing, right? And these things I came across. So one of the books that I read almost every day is Think and Grow Rich.
Mm.
And I came across this author that hates it, the Think and Grow Rich. And he starts his statement saying, this book that is a piece of beep. You can think as much as you want, and I've been thinking and thinking and thinking, but nothing happened until I decided to start taking massive action. Like, okay, now I was thinking about that statement because it's a fact, and I even set up some highlights. So as of I'm reading right now, I focus on the highlights. Right now, before I continue here, let me just do a pause, and I'm going to stream live on Facebook as well in case people they want to join us. Bum, bum, bum. That's it. And oh, 7:01. So we're ready to rock and roll. Just doing the streaming right now. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. And yes, we are live on Facebook as well. Okay. So, oh, no, let me just see here. It's live streamed. Okay. Yes. All right. So today, what I want to talk about is this connection or this discovery that I came across someone that is not a huge fan of Think and Grow Rich. I was literally spending a lot of time this weekend thinking. Last week, I had probably, I would say, the most challenge week in the year. I know, Sandro, but the year just started. I know the year just started. I do agree, but it was extremely challenging. You know, those weeks when good morning, good morning. So, you know, these weeks when you expecting some good news and all you are getting are not as good news, right? So past week was one of those. And I had a moment that I stopped and said, oh my goodness, is this anxiety? Is this depression? I didn't know how to identify the feelings I was going through. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna read the book and give the affirmations and do the blood stream. One of the things that I do, okay, let's do this and get the blood going and boiling. And I decided then to take a step back. I disconnected myself, sort of disconnected myself from social media, but I decided not to address any questions, not to answer any questions. All the messages coming up, and I was reading Think and Grow Rich. I made some notes that I like. And one of them, the guy, Napoleon Hill, he says, your power dwells deep within you. Okay, your power dwells deep within you. Far too many people create an idea, believe it's going to work, and then hit a roadblock. It could be small and usually relatively insignificant, and they forget and give up, and then they encounter it. If this is something you've done in the past, don't feel downcast. You are among the majority. What matters is that you change how you think from this point onwards. And this author talking about Think and Grow Rich, that is terrible because the things that you face, they are just telling people to think and in a very strong opinion. But it's important sometimes to hear what the other side has to say to kind of say, oh my goodness, I agree or disagree. And then when I was going through that challenge myself, I said, if I look into my circumstances, they will put me down like big time. And then I decided to reach out to a friend of mine who is a very successful broker in Toronto. He's probably in his mid-60s. I mean, he is in his mid-60s right now. And I called him because someone that I know and I care very deeply was asking for help. And I said, well, let me connect with Ernest. He's somebody that I respect, very, very successful. So I called him. And when he jumped in the call, he asked me the question, Sandro, how are you doing? I said, I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing amazing. And then he looked at me and said, okay, bud, how are you doing? I'm doing wonderful. And then he asked me again, this is awesome. But how are you doing? And I'm like, you know, I am doing fantastic. And the reason why I keep saying this repeatedly, and you keep asking me how I'm doing, is because my current circumstances, they cannot define who I am. And I believe that the person that I'm becoming is the person that I'm attracting. Now, I am going through challenges. That's for a fact. And you share a little bit about the challenges. And he's been through like 2008 and he'd been through 2010, like all of us, right? But he was hit hard in the previous crisis. It's like, Sandro, it's hard right now that some of the projects that you got yourself into it, they have like 7%, 8%, 10%. And there was a time in my career that I was paying 17 and I thought it was a good deal. When interest, that was in the 80s, when the interest, they were like in 20s and you're paying 17, I got myself a good deal, 16. Like, oh my goodness. But then, of course, I replied, yeah, but the price of real estate back then was different. And it's like, wow, but when you put things into perspective, you cannot downplay what was done back then, because at that time, a lot of individuals, they thought, that's it, I'm done. So that's how you're feeling right now. And is that circumstances? You got to just consider a lateral thinking. And when you one of you guys that are familiar with the lateral thinking concept, is a book written by Bono. Have you guys heard about lateral thinking? Anyone? No?
I've heard of it. The name sounds familiar, but I've never read it.
Yeah, so the book, thank you, and good morning, Paul. The book Lateral Thinking, I made some notes here. Let me just find the notes that I made here. Reading so many books to get into this. On the lateral thinking book, one of the things that the author he suggests is that how can we exercise and think outside of the box? how to stimulate insights, how point to effective brainstorm, and what are the pitfalls of basic assumptions, right? And that's basically the whole concept of the book. And what he was proposing to me was like, make a list of everything, like absolutely everything, and spend some time looking to each one of these challenges. And as you're looking to these challenges, you start asking questions. How can I solve this? Who can I help me solve this? What I'm not seeing? And sometimes the answers that you will receive, they are not the answers you want to hear. But you gotta be open to it, right? So one of the ideas and some of the key points here, if insight is magic, we are magicians. Last week I had a conversation with Galit, and was very impactful to me because Galit reached out to me with a challenge that she was facing, and I thought, well, it's not about how I'm going to help her solve this, it's who do I know that can help her. And then I thought about a friend. I reached out to him, and guess what? I don't know if you're able to reach out to him yet, Galit, but I spoke to him and I realized that he was the one that was helping me. And I'm like, huh, how crazy is this? Because if Galit hasn't connected with me, and then I hadn't thought about my friend, I wouldn't connect with him, like in that specific moment. And oh my goodness, what an amazing opportunity I had to talk to someone who's been through challenges that are far greater than the challenge that I am facing, and yet were able to give me some directions that's like, wow, how did I not see this? Like, what? Like right in front of me. And that's talking about the lateral thinking and the way of thinking outside of the box, having these conversations, having these moments, having these opportunities to open up and just be vulnerable and ask for help. Right? Like these words, like one word that somebody says may change the whole perspective that you're going through. Last week, we talked about emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence and all of that. And I come from the premise that you got to believe in something. I believe in God. Like everybody has a different belief system. Mine is God. And when I spend this time thinking, I said it gives me hope, right? And hope is like, okay, what is the worst case scenario that could happen? In my perspective, 80% of the time, all the things that we think that, oh my goodness, this worst case scenario, if it happens, this is going to happen. 80% of these things, 80% of the time, is not going to happen. And then anxiety comes like, how do I will cross this road? Like, how do I will overcome this? Like, huh. So then, how can I actually add real value into people's lives? Now, I would like to take this opportunity today, and we have some great people here on the call, but I want to point out, and Galita, I don't know if you can talk.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, good morning. So, Galit, the reason why I'm putting on the spot, and thank you for coming on, but last week you're also having some challenges and you reach out to some individuals. Through the exercise, what did you learn about the circumstances and how are you overcoming it? So if you could give us a perspective based on your experience when you're going through something that is so challenging and you got to find a solution, and then you find the solution and then you move forward. What would you share with us this morning?
Well, oh my God, it's like the question, what did you learn the last 2 weeks? So the last week was super challenging, and what I learned the most is reach out to your network, talk to anyone you can about your challenge, even if you don't think he will be able to help you, because you never know how other people's minds work and what kind of creating solution he can offer. Don't search for free solutions. understand that every good solution will cost you money, and don't be afraid of spend, or in other words, invest that money in resolving your challenge. Use the who not how effect, and always be ready to learn. Always. It's always, and don't be afraid to challenge yourself, even when you are going through a challenge and you don't think there is a way out, or you're having challenge to find a way out. Using the network and money you have, or you don't have, but using these two sources is a great way to find the right solution, even if your solution is a long term.
I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you. And just by listening to you, you already are coming this week with a different perspective than the perspective you had last week. And I love that. Now, I always enjoy having these conversations, and Paul being here, and I mean, I call Paul the OG with due respect, but Paul being around for quite some time in the investment world and faced also many challenges, right? So Paul, I want to put on the spot, if I will. And when you look to the landscape of where we are right now, right, and everything that is happening, and all these fear-based approaches that I see people taking, and you think back in your career, have you faced other challenging times? I'm assuming you did, but I'm gonna let you answer this. Have you faced challenging times in other moments of our economy? How did you overcome them? And when you compare to where we are today, what are the similarities and what can we learn from what you experienced in the past?
The market at one time went past the affordability level, which we've reached already in most Canadian cities. So in 1989, 1990, 91, interest rates were 18 to 22%. We were doing flips in Scarborough at the time, and the house was sold 2 weeks prior to closing. They backed out of the deal. The house went from 365,000. They backed out of the deal. They lost their deposit, $10,000. The deposit that was put on another place from us was lost because we couldn't close on the next deal. So everything was a complete domino effect. The market crashed within months. It went from 365. We got it back on the market after they forfeited, and ended up with 187. And it
My
felt like it was
goodness.
overnight.
Oh, ah,
So, and people look at now and they're like, 7%. I'm thinking 7%'s chump change.
wow. That was big. Yes, compared to where we were. Now, I'm assuming that at the time that was very painful to go through,
Well,
right?
it was, and a lot of people were going bankrupt. Like bankruptcy, I'm sure was at one of its highest rates right now. I know unpaid mortgages right now in Toronto went up 135%, right? This year from last year. So there's definitely an increase, and they know every time they move up the meter 0.5%, how many people will, forfeit their mortgages. So and most cities, like I said, we're past the affordability. But I think that's when the foundation of the strategy that you're trying to apply really makes sense. Like, you know, I saw people saying to other people, "Oh, you don't even know what you're doing in real estate. You just fluked off a couple good deals in the high season." And that's true, because like a lot of realtors, a lot of people were doing stuff that really didn't have to do much because the market was just such a high demand. But the foundation, like the good thing was the strategy that we were applying, that my friend was actually taking over the houses and living there for a year. So that year, there was such an increase that one particular year, he stayed about a year or two while we did the renovations, was he left so much on the table that he could handle a blow like that. So he
Yes.
still received, you know, I think his purchase price was 163.
Okay.
So he still made something and he still lived there for a year. He lost
Yes.
10,000. So he was still up.
Yes. Now, when you look back and you see now, what are the lessons that you've learned on your own journey that you could share with us? That could be a great advice. Free advice, but if you could give us an advice, what that would be.
I think from my small experience, I've been trying to underwrite deals like before when they were sitting at 4%, I was writing them at 7. Right now I'm trying to write them at 10.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting point. So always underwrite the deals with a higher interest rates, and if they make sense, then if the worst case scenario happens, they still make sense. Okay.
Like when I go back to the market on this recent project that I'm working on, I'm estimating a 10. Now, if it does go up to a 10, that's going to take a lot off the plate, off the table. But I'm still going to be able to run it. So, there's at first we had about 800,000 sitting on the table.
Okay. Wow.
If all of a sudden if it goes to a 10, well, we might get pinched and there might be 200,000 on the table.
Okay. Very, very, very interesting.
And
Now,
I won't do a deal with less than $1 million on the table. That's
okay.
another thing, because if you're doing flips and there's 10 or 20,000 or 40,000 sitting on the table,
That's
that's
not enough.
like you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's not enough. No, I do agree.
A
And
dog poops on your lawn across the street and your house goes down 40,000.
oh my goodness, which this is actually happening to me in some of the many projects that I got myself involved, right? Now, one question that I kept asking myself, how do I keep my sanity? Now, I feel bad, and legitimately, when I say this, like I mean it, I feel bad for my wife in the sense that she gets the best and the worst of me. What I mean by this, so 2 weeks ago, I came on the call, hyped up. Yes, let's go. Boom, boom, boom. Let's conquer. And then I finished the call. Someone that was watching the call sent me a message. I need to talk to you on the call. I want to talk about the call. We jumped in on the call, and I was hammered. Hammered. Because this is someone that also participated in one of my projects that are not going as well as projected. And immediately my energy went from high of the mountains, like top of the mountain, to like the bottom of the valley, right? And I'm like, took a minute, like I took a step back and I was just thinking about the whole scenario and everything that happened. It's like, well, number one, I'm human, right? Like, how do I keep my emotional intelligence? And how do I cope with this? And then when I hear Paul sharing that 22%, 18%, like get any deal that you're either in right now or you are part of recent years and try to underwrite at 18%. It's like, wow. Even if I get the best deal that I've done in the past 3 years and I put an interest rate at 18%, there's no way it's going to work. Like, no way. But the greatest thing of this is that the storm shall pass and we are going to be okay. We are going to be fine. We are going to survive. Um, Now, yes, we do have to take care of our mental health. Yes, we have to ask for help. Yes, we have to share, be vulnerable, and be okay and say, guys, like there's an ego component that I find. This is like I'm talking about myself, right? Um, Somebody reach out to me and, oh my goodness, I heard so many great things about you. And then, of course, it feeds the ego. Oh, thank you, yes. Oh, stop it. You're so kind. But then as that person was sharing, and oh my goodness, Sandro this and Sandro that, she asked me a very interesting question that very few people ask me. So, Sandro, you've done all these great deals, and wow, this is amazing. But how much money are you bringing home? My immediate response was, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is too personal. It's like, oh, sorry. It's like, no, no, but listen, this is a very good point because you don't ask these questions, right? And I was literally lying to myself in the sense of, did I do all these deals? Yeah, I've done. Is the portfolio value this amount? Yes, it is. But is actually working out? No, no, they're not. Okay. Now, I can see in both ways, right? I can penalize myself and just be miserable and cry and crawl under the bed and, oh my goodness, what I've done. But what I've done at the time that I did, with the numbers that I had, it made sense. And then, of course, with the switch of the market, everything changed, and now it doesn't really make sense anymore. So how do we go from here? And I say this because some of the individuals that are watching us on Facebook or here on the call might think this way. OMG, I've tried, I didn't find any deals, or the deal that I found didn't work out. And that's okay. Because some individuals that found the deals and got into the deals and worked out, and the deals are not working out anymore. And that who is better off, right? Someone that didn't do what was expected and, oh, I failed. No, there's no such thing. But when you think about kids, for example, like humans, when they're small, like a child, try to walk, fall. Try to walk again, fall. And then eventually, after so many trials, then the babies learn how to walk and then don't fall again and then walking. Now, any other animal, I was watching TV the other day, any other animal, they are born and they start walking right away. Some of the animals, they start jumping like right away, right? But we do have the capacity to change what the future looks like. Like we have the capacity to change the reality we are in. Of course, we have to make some hard decisions at times, but we gotta try this. Schedule some time for practicing lateral thinking and make it a habit. Pay attention to how the inner voice is connecting with you and take the blocks that are on the way for new ideas. It doesn't matter how crazy the idea is, but try to do the exercise. Try to postpone judgment of suggestions and watch a comedy show, your favorite one, and analyze how the jokes they challenge patterns. Because humor also stems from creativity. Now, why am I sharing this and why I'm challenging you this way? The lateral thinking concept is there are some techniques. So first of all, going back to the lateral thinking, okay? It was written by, so if you want to write down, it was a book written, let me just get the notes here. Dr. Bono, I'm gonna get his whole name because he's a psychologist. Uh-oh. Creativity step by step. So I just get the examples here with the notes that I made. I want to share it to you guys. Insights. Okay. Edward Bono is the author. He's a psychologist, and he wrote this book to talk about this idea of thinking sideways. So I made some notes here and some insights. Instead of disregarding strange suggestions, we should explore them. Mistakes are fertile soil for inventiveness. It's reasonable to train the muscle of lateral thinking beforehand. Then, even in a high-pressure environment, hello, high-pressure environment, we can leverage our creativity and our creative potential. Another insight that I wrote here, if the objective comprises many factors, it's beneficial to list them and gradually consider each. Now, think about this. When you're discussing with someone, like whatever the challenge is, emotional or in business, work environment, investors, whatever the challenge is, what would the worst case scenario be? Like the worst case scenario. So let me think about something. For me, oh my goodness, if I have this project that is not working as I expected, and I hear my phone ringing and I get the phone and it's the investor wanting to know. The heart races and it's like, But what is the worst case scenario? The person show up at my door with a gun and shoot my head. Okay, that would be very traumatic. What are the chances that do actually happen? Well, unless you did some project with some thug, that's not going to happen. Okay, what is the next worst case scenario? Okay, so the next worst case scenario would be, in this case that I'm considering here, have like a mental breakdown. Okay, so what are the things that I can do that will help keep my mind sane? Well, I can meditate, I can read, I can walk, I can exercise, I can talk. Okay, so, as we go through these things, yeah, but Sandra, you're just talking about worst case scenario. Let's think about the best case scenario. Oh my goodness, April is coming. The Bank of Canada, they will announce that they're cutting the rates by a point even. Wow, that would make the big changes. What are the chances that will actually happen? I don't know. I can't predict the future. I can look to the back and see where we are. I really think that we're in a ticking bomb. And then, of course, we want to be positive. But okay, so then in my present, how am I living the present? How am I making the best out of the moment I am in? Am I really doing this? Am I really asking individuals that have been through that how they are living their lives today? Another thing that the author talks about on exercising lateral thinking is try to buy things not with money, but do an exercise that are buying things with time. What do you mean by that, Sandro? Well, if I have to buy, I don't know, I'm going to buy something that costs, I don't know, 300,000. Okay, from the capital that I'm bringing in, how long would it take me to get the capital to then be in order to do it? Like, what is the timeline? What is the time frame? Or, oh no, I want to retire in XYZ number of years, or I want to keep work, whatever it is. Try to do the math this way, just to put into perspective, right? I did the perspective. For example, I see my parents once a year. Well, if I see my parents once a year, my father is 77 now. I am 47, so I'm always leveraging 30 years. And if I consider that my dad age compared to all his siblings, none of his siblings, they passed 82. And I just by the law averages, 77 to 82, I'm talking about 5 years. So I don't have 5 more years with my dad. I have 5 more times. That really changed the perspective, right? Like, wow, so I don't really have a lot of time. So if I take vacation once a year and my dad is 77, I'm 47, so 30 years, I don't have 30 years to vacation. I have 30 vacations or 29 vacations. That's what I mean by try to calculate things with the perspective of time. Because doing this exercise really help us to, at least in my own life, to prioritize what I actually things that I have to do, like I must do, and things that, I don't know about that, right? If you're working doing something that you absolutely despise, why keep you doing it? With the perspective of time. Like I see so many people, and again, working now, owning a flower shop. One of our biggest clients is a funeral home, and oh my goodness, they give us so much business. Yes, because people are dying every day. And the ages is like from children to elderly individuals, but like the range is so vast and really make me realize that our lives are so fragile. And we times we we spend the time with things that they don't really matter. Like, are the things I'm doing, will they have an impact for eternity? In the sense of, I think I asked this before, I'm going to ask again. Think about your parents or your father, and then your grandfather, and then a great-grandfather, and a great-great-grandfather. Like 90% of people, they don't even remember, they don't even know who the person on the fourth generation is. I was challenged with that, and I was speaking to an audience of about 300 people. I did this exercise, and who knows the name of the father? Like 99% of people raised their hands. And I kept asking, great-grandfather, like father, grandfather, great-grandfather, great-grandfather. Among 300 people, when I asked them, what is the name of your great-great-grandfather? Only 4 people raised their hands, which means that in 100 years from today, the house you live in, somebody else will be living there, or the house may not even exist. They may bulldozer to build something else on the land. The car we drive, the clothes we wear, or the generation coming after us, they don't even know who we are. They don't even know our names. So how then can I live a life that will have an impact that will be there? Can I have an impactful life? What am I leaving to the next generation, right? Like to my kids or my kids' kids, or and why not? Fun enough, I went to an event, and the event was in, I saw all these names and people that help build that building. And I'm like, oh my goodness, they're just names on the wall, but they left something there that is impacting so many individuals. Yes. Now, as we teach people about financial literacy, about investments, about having a better quality or having a better life, there are 2 ladies that I admire, and they are right here, the Nusha and Julie. They live lives, and Paul, like many of us, they're living life on their own terms. Yes, it's not without challenge, a lot of challenges, but I remember one day I'm talking to Danusha, where are you at? Oh, I'm in Montreal. And then I call her again other day. Oh, now I'm in Ottawa. Oh, now I'm going to Spain. Now I'm in Edmonton. Oh my God, yeah, I love traveling. Wow. This is amazing. How many of us want to travel to somewhere, but then we have so many excuses? I'm not going to do this because this. I'm not going to do that because this. Last night, I called a friend. He was one of my groomsmen. And I called him, Guga, I miss you. Say, Sandro, really? Last time you called me was 7 months ago. So, are you keeping tabs of it? Yes, I'm keeping tabs of it because that was the last time we spoke. You really miss me? I moved to Quebec City 5 years ago. And every year, when around this time, you say, no, this summer when things warm up, I'm going to make my way up there to visit you. 5 years, Sandro. I visited you 3 times since I moved here. I'm like, oh, what are the skills I'm going to come up now? Right? Like putting things into perspective, living today to have this impact, to make these changes. And we have Ed in the house. Ed, welcome. Last week, you talked about emotional intelligence. And in this call, we have our entrepreneurs, investors, and business owners. If you could talk to us about your perspective when it comes to spiritual intelligence, how do we move forward with the challenges you're facing? How do we live the present with our eyes in the future from the perspective of spiritual intelligence? Please take the mic. Oops, you're muted. You're still muted. Yes.
You want to test?
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sandro, for inviting me. And I'm sorry for the time I'm a little late here, but good to start here, the meeting, joining and feeling your energy. You're up there already.
Yes.
And so I wanted to talk to you guys about thinking three-dimensionally. Did you have a chance to share the PDF, Sandra, that I sent?
No, but I will.
All right, so first thing that we have to understand that is spiritual intelligence doesn't necessarily have to be for spiritual or religious people only, because even those who are atheists believe that there is a consciousness, right? So we are body, mind, and soul. If you are an atheist and believe there's no spirit, and if you're a spiritual person and believe there is a spirit, whether you're religious or not, I'm not a religious person, but I'm a spiritual person. I believe there's body, mind, and spirit. But either way, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday. He's an atheist, and he was talking about he believes there's consciousness, and there's so many cases of near-death experiences where people witness their own body at usually at the surgical table, that there's an entire new field that's being developed about that study of consciousness. So if you don't believe in spirit, that's fine. You just switch that for consciousness, but it applies all the same. And so the first part I want to share with you is discernment. Discernment has a big part to play in your spiritual intelligence, especially for you if you are a real estate investment, discerning what's a good deal and what's not a good deal. Discerning if you are an entrepreneur, discerning when to start a business, when not to start a business. Discernment is very important, and discernment is completely connected with your spirit or your consciousness, right? It is it's outside the spectrum of the body. It's outside the spectrum of the soul. It's not something you can learn. It's something that is you are born with. You're born with your spirit. So just to facilitate things, I'm going to speak from the spiritual perspective. But if you are an atheist and you don't believe in spirit, that's fine. You just, every time I say spirit or God, you switch it to consciousness. So that way I don't have to be fixing it every time, fixing my speech every time. And if you're a spiritual person, you just go along with spirit and God, okay? So discernment is access to another dimension. We have to train ourselves. I'm in a slide. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Senator, we have to train ourselves to think three-dimensionally. We have to pass the temptation to accept the outward and the obvious as the only solution. I'm going to read it again. We have to train ourselves to think three-dimensionally. We have to pass. Why pass? Because it's not easy. It's like trying to go, if you ever surfed, a surfer to get to where the perfect spot for the waves, he has to go through those initial waves. He has to press through, or a boat has to go towards the tide, has to go towards the waves to press through. The temptation to accept the outward and the obvious as the only solution. A lot of times you're working on a deal or you're working on your business and there's some obvious solutions. There's some, okay, this is obvious, I'll do this. And it's being able to control your actions and say, what is my spirit telling me? And taking that time to connect with your spiritual side, taking that time to connect with your spirit, taking that time to say, okay, is this a good deal? Sometimes everything in the first dimension, which is the body, the natural, right? Everything that is created, everything that you can see with your eyes, everything that makes sense is in the first realm. And then you have the second realm, which is your soul. And then you have the second realm, which is your soul. Sorry, I got a little bit of feedback there. And it's the second dimension. And that's where all your information lays. That's where you have all the data, all the languages you speak, it's the software, right? To run the hardware that is your body. But beyond that, there's a third dimension. And that third dimension is your spirit. And so connecting with your spirit, there are several ways that you can connect with your spirit. For different people will be different things, but it's just not just pretending that it doesn't exist. A lot of people pretend that it doesn't exist and just live their lives in the first and second dimensions. It's all about the body. It's all about looking good. It's all about working out. It's all about your appearance. And a lot of people is intellect, right? It's all about what you know and how much you know, and you study and you memorize phrases and you quote books. It's rare that you find somebody that operates mostly from both dimensions, and a person is very fit physically and very intelligent and very structured emotionally. But we're talking about a completely different realm of existence, which is the spirit realm. And the spirit realm is as real as the body, and it's as real as the mind. And knowing how to operate from the spiritual realm is very important for you to have success in any area. So spiritual intelligence, what is spiritual intelligence? It is to tap, next slide. It's to tap into a higher realm of existence from where you can access revelation to unlock the desired outcome in the first and second dimensions. It's to tap into a higher realm of existence from where you can access revelation. This is a very important word here. It's not information. Information you get from the numbers, information you get from the people who are working with you, you get from the real estate agent, you get from the lawyers, you get information. Everybody can give you information. If you're an investor and you're in the stock market, you can get information about those stocks. But revelation is something that is about to happen. It's yet to happen. Information is something that has already happened. You have data about something that has already come to pass. That's information. Data about something that has already come to pass. Okay? Revelation is information about something that is yet to come to pass. So it's especially in the real estate business or investing in business and companies, revelation is very, very important for you to make sure you're taking the right steps, that you're getting into the right business, that you're not making the wrong decisions. Access revelation to unlock the desired outcome in the first and second dimensions. And okay, so I get it. I get it. Accessing spiritual intelligence for powerful guidance and problem solving. Okay, how do I do it? Right? And that's the question. How do I access that revelation? Where does it come from? Well, I'm going to read this slide for you and explain the most important factor is peace. But before I do that, I have to say, you have to take time. First of all, you have to believe, and you have to, once you believe, okay, yes, I believe in the spiritual realm. Yes, I believe, like I said before, if you're an atheist, I believe in consciousness and awareness. I'm not just a body ran by a software called the soul. I have something else there. Most science have come to that conclusion as well. And so you come to that point where you say, all right, I have a spirit. Now, how do I get in touch with it? How do I develop it? And the most important way to do it is through taking your time, taking time to do it, setting aside time. We set aside time for everything that is important. If you're married, you set aside time for your wife, for your marriage. If you have kids, you set aside time for your kids. If you like some sport or some activities, set aside time. We always set aside time for things that we love. And time is our most valuable asset. Your most valuable asset is not money. Money comes and goes. Your most valuable asset is your time. And who and what you spend your time with is very important for your success in every area of your life. And so if you spend more time taking care of your body and going to the gym, you're going to be very successful. You're going to have a beautiful body, or a beach body, right? But if you don't spend any time taking care of your other dimensions, they're going to lack. If you spend more time taking care of your body, but you don't read any books and you don't get any education, you're just going to be, a good-looking person but is very shallow. And, in the first few minutes talking to you, you're going to perceive, well, this person has no depth. And if you manage to be able to do take good care of your body and take good care of your soul and learn and study and have information, then that makes you a more interesting person. Now, when you access the spiritual realm, when you access the third dimension and you have spiritual intelligence, that really makes you stand out in the crowd. Because you're going to be sharing, talking about things that people inherently know, inside of their hearts, they know. They can connect with what you're saying. Probably you're connecting with a lot of things I'm saying right now. And that's because of this spiritual intelligence that I operate in. I would rather lose 2 fingers of my hand than lose my spiritual intelligence and my connection with my spirit and with the Spirit of God. And because it's through my connection with God that everything else flows. It's because, for example, I'll give you a simple example. It's because of my connection with God that I'm here speaking to you right now. Because one day I connecting with God and through prayer and meditation, I discerned that I was supposed to move to Canada. And here's the thing: when you discern what the spiritual or your spirit is saying, and when you have the spiritual intelligence, and you take the time, and remember, time is a key factor here. When you take the time to connect with your spirit, and you take the time to connect with God, God is going to open the doors He wants you to go through, and He's going to close the doors He doesn't want you to go through. So how do you get spiritual intelligence? Let's go back to peace there. We have a slide that talks about peace. So peace is the compass of the spiritual realm. Peace, so if you think of a spiritual realm as an ocean, peace is the compass that's going to give you your north, going to give you your direction. When you don't have peace about something, that's the spirit realm telling you, in this case, that's God telling you that you're not supposed to get into it. Okay? Peace in many holy books, including the Bible, which I follow, the Bible says that peace is the compass that God uses to guide our souls to the center of His good and perfect will. So, and again, I'm just gonna say it again just to reinforce it. I said in the beginning, if you have a different spiritual perspective, it doesn't matter. You still believe in something, and maybe you just believe in awareness or consciousness, and that's fine. So every time I say God, spirit, and those things, you just replace with your lingo, replace with your with the terms that fit for you. And for me, it's God. So peace is the compass of the spiritual realm. I started to have these impressions, and one day I went to bed and I had a dream. Dream is another big, huge tool that God uses to speak to you. He speaks through dreams. You have the example of in the Bible, several people God spoke through dreams, but one of them that stands out to me is Joseph. Joseph is a character in the Bible that God used to save the people from starvation through a dream, and he led them, and they ended up going after him to a land where there was provision and there was food, and where he became the prime minister of the land there and saved his family all through dreams and interpretation. And we all have dreams, when you're sleeping, maybe you don't remember your dreams, but you surely have them. And your dreams is a form of communication with the spiritual realm. And peace is the compass of your soul. Peace is the compass of your spirit. Peace is the compass God uses to guide you. So if you need to make a decision, if you need to pull the trigger on something, should I do it? Should I not do it? First thing you have to do is take the time, sit down, go for a walk, do something, disconnect from your cell phone, disconnect from other people, just you and God, and really try to understand and get discernment and get revelation. Don't only go by the obvious. A lot of times the obvious is only giving you information that is available to the average human being right now. But if you manage to access the spiritual realm, you're going to get revelation that most people don't have. So if you're an investor, if you're a business owner, it's very important for you to operate from the spirit realm. You must cultivate and protect your peace at all costs. And believe me, the world around you is set up, and the people around you in your life, they are set up to disturb that peace. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. And it's going to happen not because people want to be mean to you, it's just because relationships cause friction. So if you talk to somebody, you have a different opinion, that's going to cause a friction. And that friction is likely to take your peace away. So you must protect your peace because your peace is a compass. Think of your peace as your compass. That's how you find direction for life. And if your compass is broken, then how can you find direction? How can you get revelation? So it's very, very important that you take the time. Take your time every day. Go for a walk and leave your cell phone behind. Take some time by yourself, just you, and pray and take time to pray. When you're praying, you're connecting with God. Now, the Eastern civilizations, they know this very well. And when you go east, you go to countries like Nepal, for example, and you go to countries like Thailand and Israel, and all these Eastern countries, they have an entire culture based on connection with the spiritual realm. An entire culture that is based on being led by God, being led by the Spirit, right? Even the Buddhists don't believe in the person of God, but they believe in the spiritual realm and consciousness and awareness. And Ken Reeves is a famous Buddhist. When you connect with your spirit realm, you are receiving supernatural information that other people don't have. And if you want to thrive in any aspect of your life, when you access the spiritual realm and your spiritual intelligence, you're going to receive a direction. And sometimes you have to decide, do I buy this property or not? Should I buy this business or not? And that's a key factor, because you receive discernment, and then you take your time, you go for a walk, you go pray, and that peace will come. You're supposed to do it, you're going to have peace. If you're not supposed to do it, you're not going to have peace. And that's when a lot of people just bulldoze over those signs that the Spirit is giving you. They bulldoze over, they ignore it, they go with the data, and they make big mistakes. So, for example, you probably heard of intuition. Intuition is just another name for spiritual intelligence, and it's an old name, right? You probably heard of mothers that just had this. Mothers and women especially are more connected to the spiritual realm than men. They're more sensitive, and they say they have this intuition, right?
A lot of people say gut feeling.
Gut feeling, exactly. It's just another name for spiritual intelligence. So when you stop ignoring those signs, stop ignoring your gut feeling, stop ignoring the intuition, stop ignoring the sixth sense, and all these names that people give, it's all the same thing. It's spiritual intelligence. You stop ignoring them. Not only you stop ignoring them, you start pursuing them. Okay, this is something real. This is a real factor. The more the world advances, humanity advances, the more people are becoming aware of spiritual intelligence. People like Elon Musk will talk about spiritual intelligence. He won't do anything without taking some time to meditate and just receive discernment and revelation. Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, you hear them over and over and over talking about spiritual intelligence and the power of silence. That's a big one, the power of silence.
Oh, man.
How many times? Go ahead.
Yes, and I want to be mindful of the time. Oh, such a great perspective. So we are almost at 8. So if anybody needs to leave, I know we have to do your things, but I'm recording the call, so I would love to get to the end. So at least I want to say, if you can stay for a little bit, please stay. You have to go. You
So let's
come and watch
let's open for
afterwards.
Q&As in these last minutes then, Sandro. Q&A. Anybody has questions?
Yeah, but there's one thing here that you mentioned, how to apply my spirit intelligence.
Okay, so let's go to the next slide there. Self-reflection. Engaging in regular self-reflection to understand personal values, motivations, and behaviors. This could involve keeping a journal, meditating on personal experiences, or conducting a nightly review of one's actions and their alignment with personal values. So self-reflection is another word for meditation. You take the time. I was just talking about silence. Take the time to be by yourself This is so very important. And in the actual day and age that we live today, silence is a rare commodity. You know, it's so rare for you to be able to have silence, and silence is so important. If we understood how how important silence is for your spiritual connection, we would take more time being by ourselves in a place where we can hear absolutely nothing. That's why some men love to go fishing, for example, because when you go fishing, you're into nature and you're away from the fuzz and buzz of the city, and you can connect. People don't realize why they like sometimes to go on hikes, why they like to connect with nature. One of the reasons is because of silence. It's one of the reasons because suddenly all these voices around you, be your kids, your spouse, your boss, your dog, your neighbor, whatever it is, your cell phone, your alarms, all this stuff just uh, draws all the energy from you in all the three dimensions. There's always something sucking your energy. There's always something sucking your energy, right? And they don't do it with bad intentions. Sometimes it's a loved one, but he wants to talk to you. And then there's a boss or a coworker, or if you're a business person, there's an employee, or there's always something to suck your energy. And we don't realize that, but we start to leak and we start to leak our energy, and we start to give, and never stop to replenish. When you don't stop to replenish your energy, at some point, you're going to pop. You're going to pop because we are beings created to give and receive. And if you're constantly on the go, constantly giving attention, giving your time, giving direction, when is it that you stop to receive? And if you don't make it a habit, okay, I'm going to do it every morning before everybody else gets up. I'm going to just have a time for myself. And this is not a time to read or learn. So that's very important. There's a place and time for that. It's not a time for, can I exercise and go on my jogging machine or my running machine there and a treadmill and connect spiritually? No, you can't, because you're working on your first dimension there, your energy, your concern. You're gonna break that silence, mental, spiritual, emotional silence. You're gonna break it to make sure you're running the right speed, you're pressing the right buttons, and you're putting your feet where you're supposed to do. So that's not taking the time to connect spiritually. Taking the time to connect spiritually is making it priority above everything else. And that's why in the Eastern traditions, you see people sitting in the lotus position, just sitting there and doing nothing. Sometimes not even in, some yogi, for example, they go for days sitting there and not eating or drinking, just meditating. And some people may say, well, yeah, but these people are very poor and they have nothing. Well, but if you look at people who are active, productive in the other two dimensions, but are also very highly connected to the spiritual realm in the third dimension, these are the people that excel in every area of their lives. So taking silence is the key word here, guys. So Sandra, you conduct us here because of the time. I don't know how much more I should talk. It's already
Yes,
8:00.
well, if anybody has any questions, that is also a time to ask. But I do have a question. So I am someone that tell my students or people that I work with the importance of meditation. This is the one thing, this is the greatest challenge for me, because when I try to do that, and I literally, being vulnerable here, I gave up, because I try and then I'm saying, okay, I'm going to meditate. And I start with the gratitude, right? I'm thankful for my life. I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for my belief system. And I'm thankful for my family. Oh my goodness, my family lives in Tampa. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen my mom and dad since last year. Oh, how much is the flight for Tampa? I should look into that. Is Porter or Air Canada? Oh, I can go with Allegiant as well. No, Allegiant is not operating anymore because they're out of Syracuse, but they're not. And then my mind goes like, whoop. And all of a sudden I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, how did I get here? I don't know how to do that without having these wonders in my life. What your advice would be?
Yeah, sometimes quiet in the mind can be challenging for some people. It is for me. I was having a conversation about that with my wife the other day. And like, even when I'm in total times of silence, just taking the time to be by myself with God, things keep popping into my head, right? So you're trying to connect the spirit, but the mind, which is the second dimension, keeps bringing you all this information. You want to live and take a time to delve into the realm of revelation, but the information keep pops up. So one of the things that you can do that is very helpful is to have a journal or have a piece of paper and a pen, and you write down all these thoughts, these intrusive thoughts that come to your mind. You write down, and you just say to yourself, okay, I'll take care of that later after I'm done with my meditation. And you write it down. So you're doing your meditation, you think, I have to visit mommy. Okay, I'm gonna write it down. I have to visit mommy. There's a flight. Okay, there's a flight. I write it down. And you're taking it off of your mind and put it on the paper. Taking it off and put it on the paper. And you keep doing that. And you keep doing that. And at some point, your brain will say, okay, all right, all this stuff is gonna be taken care of, so I don't have to keep bringing it back. You take it from here, put it on the paper, and then you know, the more you do it, my experience is the quieter your mind gets. That's an exercise you can do. If you don't like writing it down, just get your iPhone, put it on the voice recorder, and you just record just say, make yourself a reminder, write a reminder, right? There are many ways. The idea is to take it out of your mind so you can put it on a piece of paper or a note or a reminder or a to-do list. And once you do that, your brain will be more at peace knowing that it's going to be taken care of.
Oh, this is great. If anybody has a question, please just raise your hands. Now, you talk also about mindfulness.
Yes. Mindfulness is to stay present and centered. So if I'm here with you, I'm here with you. It helps cultivating a calm and focused mind. This enhances the ability to respond rather than to react to situations. A key aspect of spiritual awareness is self-mastery. So right now I'm talking to you. My wife and my kids were in the dynamic of going to school. There was a lot of noise going on. My dog doesn't stop barking because he's being crated in the morning. He doesn't like to stay crated in the morning because he was crated all night. So there's, all these noises, the cell phone will ring, and you have to be able to kind of like imagine yourself diving in a swimming pool of mindfulness, and all around you is the spiritual realm, and you make all these sounds sound very far and muffled, and you say, okay, I understand there's a need there and I'll take care of it, but not right now. I want to be present in this moment to connect with my spiritual self, to connect with God and my faith, and you shut down all these other factors. And if it's a person, you will just politely say to that person, thank you for that information. I'll take care of that later. At the moment, I am taking care of this situation. I want to be mindful of my time with my spiritual exercise here. And so later we'll talk about that. And it's just being able to shut down all these other realities around you, all those others needs, all the other things that will demand your attention, and just to practice this mindfulness, stay present and centered. Now you can carry that with you during the day as well, which is very, very important. That's the ultimate goal, that you're not only a spiritual person at a certain time of the day when you're meditating, and then when you're done and you go to your daily life, you just lose it and you get angry, and you carry that mindfulness with you. So I'm working with somebody else. I'm working with a client. I'm speaking to somebody, and something will, push my buttons and try to trigger my anger, try to trigger a response that is not my optimal response. I must be mindful to operate from the spiritual intelligence realm and be able to bypass the ignorance, bypass the anger, bypass the, if you're, road rage, whatever it is, so I can live my life from a higher perspective, not responding to animal instincts, but living as a awakened, aware being that I am. So if I'm driving and somebody cuts me or flips me flips me the bird when they're driving, I don't have to respond and pay with the same coin. Because I can operate from a higher level of existence. Or if somebody's mean to me and says something mean to me, I don't have to be mean back, because I can't operate from a higher level of existence, and I can respond that person with something good instead of
Wow.
responding with something bad, because I am I'm being mindful that I am a spiritual being.
Here's what I found.
Another thing that you can do is understand that your eyes and your attention has value. A lot of times people stop to answer strangers on the street that will come at you and be angry at you and say something. It will trigger a response. Well, that stranger don't know you. They're not a part of your life. You can easily just turn your back and leave. You don't have to give them a response. Somebody comes to you and asks you a question or puts you on the spot, you don't have to come down to their level. Let's say you are in a supermarket and somebody comes and say, hey, this is my personal bubble. What are you doing? Your little cart is your shopping cart is too close to mine, right? Let's say you find a disturbed individual in your life. How do you respond? Well, first of all, you don't even have to look at them. Your eyes are a privilege. Your eyes are the windows of your soul, and they're a privilege. And we have to give more value to our eyes. So you can just easily look at the person and ignore them. Turn your eyes away. Your words are pearls. They're precious. You don't have to turn to that stranger who is giving you a hard time for no reason. Maybe they're having a bad day. You don't have to interact. Your eyes are yours. Your words are yours. And if whoever doesn't understand the value that they have, you shouldn't be spending them with this person.
Wow. And then finally, you also talk about self-regulation.
Right. Learning to tap, transcend, adapt, and persist. So you transcend your fears and limitations. You adapt to the new realities you may face, and you're persistent to accomplish your goals. Learn how to tap, right? And in the context of jiu-jitsu, tapping is giving up, but this is not the jiu-jitsu. This is not the first dimension of the body. This is the third dimension of the spirit. So oftentimes in the spiritual realm, it's opposite of the natural realm. So if in the natural tapping is given up, in the spiritual tapping is persisting. Transcend, adapt, and persist. Right? You're a real estate agent or you're a real estate investor, and you got some investors. You brought some people that brought $10 million to buy a property, and you have, let's say, X number of investors, and from that X number of investors, you have 10% that are giving you a hard time. They want the money back or whatever it is. So you have to transcend your fears and limitations of talking to that person. A lot of times it's easier just to hang up the phone or not answer, right? Well, by not answering, you're just going to drive that person mad and mad and mad and mad. That person is just going to be afraid. Am I going to lose my money? Why don't they answer the phone? So transcend the fear of talking to that person. Sit down and write a list of reasons why, because you're a good person, you're a hardworking person, and you have your reasons why this particular client is not receiving the outcome, the expected outcome. You have reasons for that. So you take the time. If he's an investor, you put money on your hands, he deserves your time. You sit down and you transcend your fear of talking to that person, and you face them, and you bring your best smile and your best face and explain to them the reasons you have for the results that are being achieved. And they may be angry, like I said, they come from a lower level of energy, but you come from a higher level of mindfulness. You come from a higher level of revelation. And if you keep tapping, you keep transcending, adapting, and persisting. They come with an argument. You transcend, you adapt, and you persist with your argument. And you do it over and over again. What's going to happen is you're going to bring them to a higher level, closer to you, because higher spiritual awareness will always trump over lower spiritual awareness. So if the person is in darkness, in the sense that they are in the dark, they can't see what you see, they can't understand what you understand, you're gonna bring them information, you're gonna share your revelation, and little by little, they're gonna feel your energy, they're gonna feel your, oh wow, he's convinced this is gonna work. And you're gonna bring them up to the level of energy that you are, the level of revelation that you are. It's tiring sometimes, especially when you have to deal with people that can't understand. And you and I, Sandra, have talked about that a lot. We deal with some people sometimes that they can't get it, but it's our job to bring them up to the higher level and not allow them to drag us down.
Wow, I love this. Ed, man, I can listen to you for hours, but we gotta go with our day. And before I dismiss everyone, if anybody has any questions, please, this is your moment. Before, and Ed, I know today's your day off, and I'm so grateful that you took some time on your day off to come and share this wisdom with us, and very grateful. So I'm going to ask Paul or Danusha or Galit or Abigail or Julie, Shai, if you guys have any questions, please take the moment. All right. So I appreciate everybody. Oh, Shai, okay. Do you have a question, brother? No, Shai's getting into the car. Okay. Guys, I appreciate you all very much. And I'm grateful that I'm having the opportunity to start my week in a high note with y'all. We are also live on Facebook, so you can come and watch again if you will. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an amazing week. Stay blessed by the best, and I see you next Monday. Same Zoom link. Let's get it. Thank you, everybody. Julie, have a great week, my dear friend. It's always an honor to have you here. I know you wake up super early to come here, and I appreciate you very much. Have a great week. I see you guys at the top.